This is Scott Palmer presenting for Group 6, Chapter 8. In this presentation, we will go over the integration operation capabilities into dev teams. One of the goals in this chapter is to understand how we can enable market-oriented outcomes with smaller teams to quickly deliver value to the customers. We saw in the previous chapter of the book, when operation is centralized and we have functionally oriented organizations, we have to serve the needs of many teams. We have long-led teams. We need to reprioritize and scale our work. We have poor development outcomes. This concept of integration operation capabilities into dev teams was well done by the Big Fish Games company. Because the company was organized as centralized operations organizations, it had many teams working with development, and each team used different technologies, resulting in many problems such as dev teams needed to fight for ops resources, unreliable tests and integration environments, problems with release process, and etc. The vice president of the IT operations proposed embedding ops expertise into dev teams. The process was called Ops Liaisons. He said so by classifying Ops Liaisons into two different categories. One, business relationship manager, where people are responsible for the project management, development and management, production management, etc. And two, dedicated release engineers, where people become familiar with product development, including quality assurance issues, to help ops organizations to become familiar with dev and quality assurance requests for ops. As a result, the vice president noticed a velocity in the teams and in their productivity. To enable market-oriented outcomes, operations need to create a set of centralized platforms, tooling services to help the developers become more productive by getting production-like environments, deployment pipelines, automated testing tools, telemetry dashboards, as amongst other things. And now as a result, the dev team spend more time building value to the customers instead of focusing on infrastructure. The goal here is to build tools to enable self-service. Consequently, the infrastructure is provided by services and tools such as Kubernetes and Dockers. This process happens by making the services and platforms automated on demand. Specialists will realize the solution is the easiest choice available by creating an effective internal market space of capabilities. It is necessary to have a vision control repository, a deployment pipeline to run code quality, security, amongst other things. That will make customers become the internal dev teams instead of the real final users. In order to enable more market-oriented outcomes, we must enable product teams to become more self-sufficient by enabling operations engineers with the product team. The product team's goals become their priorities when they embed operations and engineers into dev teams, which makes the product team have more money to hire ops engineers. Now the interviews and the hiring process are done by centralized operations group, which makes it interesting because Disney has embedded ops engineers inside the product teams, which developers, testers, and info security people. Just like large development projects, we can embed ops engineers into teams and the work responsible. Those teams are responsible for the step-by-step process that leads the project development. Assigning a designated liaison for each product team is a very important step that offers the desired benefits. Sometimes it is hard to reach those benefits for many reasons, such as money, scarcity, and other things. Etsy company is known as designated ops, where centralized operations continue to control consistency of the environment pre-production. When assigning ops liaisons, it attends the team stand-ups. It acts such like the embedded ops model. It identifies resources or time conflict. It allows us to support more product teams, and it ensures that ops is not constrained. Ops engineers will then become responsible for knowing why, how, and where the functionalities exist, as well as the infrastructure and how they are affected, in addition to departures from your previous architectures and feature launch plans. Ops need to be a part of the dev process and vice versa, so operations are able to plan and spread knowledge into product teams. This happens when people familiarize themselves with the development culture. Dev practices and methodologies are well organized, and ops need to be in the same context of these practices and methodologies. The purpose behind inviting ops into devs is to help everyone in the team see what is happening in the project. This is like making the work visible. It helps to prioritize the work, resolve concerns, help in resolving issues, sharing the same goals, reinforcing the value stream. A good practice is to invite the ops engineers to participate in daily meeting and be part of planning process with the devs. It helps the process of deploying the software because resources will be available. Everyone will work on the same goal. Devs and ops making what we know as DevOps. In this slide, we will see the retrospective meeting. Allows the team to make some experiments in the next sprint. This is the reason why ops must participate also in this meeting, because they can present the outcomes of the deployment process, infrastructure problems, and other things. Consequently, this process will help the next meetings. Directing the group members for the best choices when a new sprint starts. For example, this is also a good way to provide continuous feedback, but now provided by the operation team. In addition to using agile methodologies, the best practices, we must make the work visible. It is important also to include the activities of the operations group in the shared Kanban board. However, it is important to put only those activities that are relevant to product delivery, which shows how many benefits of using these best practices, such as directing us where a problem might be, resolving any issues by escalation, identify what needs to be done, and finally tracking the operations to support the product. In this presentation, we have gone over the benefits of integrating operations into daily work development and how it can be done. Thank you for your time.